Welcome to MarketPulse Pros and Pioneers. Each week, I talk with industry leaders on both marketing and entrepreneurship and business to find out all about their wins and failures in marketing right now. We'll hear all about successes and wins and what's fallen flat so that you can take that knowledge and implement it. Learn from the best, from the folks who've been there and done it all, as well as people just like you. Thanks for joining us. This is MarketPulse Pros and Pioneers.
Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of MarketPulse Pros and Pioneers. This afternoon, I'm going to bring to you something a little bit different from our previous guests. And I'd like to welcome Paul Whitley to the show. Paul, thanks for coming along.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's my opportunity to meet new people and share servant leadership to anyone that I can.
Absolutely. I like it. And it helps you've got a really cool name as well. So I like that. You're the second Paul, other than I, that we've had on the show, so and we all think alike. We've all gotten on well, so it's a good sign. Unlike other Pauls. For those of you who were watching along at home, you've not met Paul before, he's a seasoned chief financial officer and transformation technology leader with over 30 years of experience across lots of different industries, from retail to manufacturing and SaaS as well. So, as the managing director of C-suite support, Paul specializes in helping businesses achieve exponential growth through strategic, financial, and operational planning. And his expertise ranges from CRMs and ERP implementations to business development and turnaround strategies. Paul's passionate about mentoring and coaching business leaders on improving processes, reducing expenses, and driving profitability. And I think anybody who's listening along or watching along at home, Paul, will immediately see that the experience that you have, whilst you're not technically a marketer in job title, you have a wealth of marketing experience behind you. So thank you very much for coming along and offering to share some of that with our audience. It's a privilege.
Thank you very much for having me on here. And, part of that, the background of one time, I after a year working with the company, became the CFO and then ultimately general manager. And had an 18% compounded growth per month for 48 months, ultimately growing a $6 million company to $180 million. So I learned how to market to a degree. Now, am I an expert on marketing? No, but I'm an expert on finding people that know how to market. It's like the old thing, you don't have to know everything. You just need to know where to go get it. So I enjoy marketing. And what I got out of all of that is I enjoy working with people, helping companies grow more than I like looking at spreadsheets. I go to sleep myself looking at spreadsheets, much less talking about.
But I think that's the crux of it, right? And I think that's what separates good marketers from great marketers is their curiosity about the human condition and why people do the insane things that we sometimes choose to do around behavioral science and neuroscience. And you can take a scientific angle on it, but the basic fact is anybody who's good at marketing is capable of understanding people and being curious. And I think it's fair to say that that's a key skill for your job as well, right?
It absolutely is. And one of the cliche sayings that when I was in retail business, selling products, marketing to the public, it was always a joke that, 50% of my marketing is working. Unfortunately, I don't know which 50% it is. So you're out there, you're spending the money, you're trying to get it going. And, one of the things of the more current data processes and AI and things of that nature is you're able to start we're drilling down, finding out where those came from, how they got there. And if you're not using those tools now and you're working with people like yourself to take that AI and dive down to where you're going, you're lost. You don't know where it's coming from. You're in trouble.
That's the need to have that external support at times. And I know there's a lot of business owners who are watching this who would love to be able to afford that external support, and they're not quite there yet. So the point of the podcast is to offer two things: is either support to businesses who aren't ready for hiring external support here and kind of still DIYing themselves. How can we help support them, give them ideas as to what marketing they could or should be doing, as well as help them decide when's the right time to bring in that external support. So I guess just to rewind a little bit then, Paul, because we've kind of jumped straight into how you help businesses, but I guess there's a long career there that we've not really touched on, and I don't want you to spend too long on that. But like, if you could just give us the top line information as to what led you where you are right now.
The first part of my career was with a $5 billion company, a corporate controller over 1,000 locations, finally, after 14 years. And then I went into the private sector for the business I just mentioned. That was a retail company. My wife explained to me that we'd just gone through 60 days of snow. She's going home. Dallas was home. That was my cue that I was either going to commute from Dallas or I was going to change.
Hi, and thanks for joining us for the show. I'm Paul, founder here at Javelin Content Management. We specialize in getting ideas out of your head, down into video, and out to your social media through repurposing and efficient content strategies. If you want to find out how you can convert your ideal audience into paying customers, reach out to us, javelincontent.com, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode.
So I got into the private sector at that point, got into a business, loved it. We were in the process of taking it public when our business failed due to our lender going under during the SNL days, SNL scandal days back in the 80s. So at that point, somebody that figured I could borrow $87 million, I might be able to lend it. I went into the lending world, learned how to be a lender, how to be a credit manager, and for 15 years, averaged a little over $100 million a year in production. And it all came from learning how to build CRM. In 1996, that was it wasn't even coined at that point. But got with a little company here in Dallas, built it out in DBase, ultimately into SQL, put it on to a contact database manager system. It did in 1996 what Salesforce and Pardot does today. So it worked. I've used that same process, same program, installed 7 different CRM systems, database administrator on 4. So I went back to get my master's in e-commerce and internet technology. So I'm a geek, which is unusual for all of that gray hair you see there. And then ultimately, the last lending company I was with was a hedge fund. It failed in 2008. I probably don't have to tell you what happened in 2008, but there was about 245,000 of us out there being riffed by financial services companies. So I pivoted. I became an interim CFO for many of the companies I'd loaned money to, from $5 million to $200 million companies. I did that for a while. And then ultimately I ran into a little guy here in Dallas when I started up a network group. I figured, okay, there's a lot of other people out there doing the same thing I'm doing. They're fractional. They don't know it's fractional because that term hadn't been coined yet. But they're trying to work with small companies and doing consulting, et cetera. Met with him, and he had CFO for 10 companies. Met with him. He's probably about your age, Paul. I looked at him, and I've got a cryptic sense of humor. And I said, hey, what's the deal that you can't keep your job? He said, what do you mean? I said, you've been a CFO for 10 companies already? He said, no, I'm a CFO for 10 companies now. Really? How did he do that? I had him speak at my network group, had about 60 people there. And the morning we met, the light bulb kind of flickered, but it didn't turn on. When we met and he went through the process that he did for finding clients, how he went about building his business, the light bulb turned on. When he got through, I stood up in front of the great guys. I said, you didn't hear what he said. If you didn't understand what he said, you need to circle one more time with him. Because if this is the future of our business, again, Fractional isn't there. So at any rate, ultimately, very quickly, Fractional became part of the term. And as you know, fractional just means I work with the company 3 or 4 days a month instead of 8 hours a day. So that's where it started. Started the network group here in Dallas. We have about 440 members here now. And then last year joined C-Suite Network and brought my council group into their council group. And now we have a council with 20,000 member C-Suite Network. So our reach and frequency has gone out and improved. And then, as you know, at this point, marketing has become more of my focus than doing spreadsheets. I want to grow a business. We have 12 employees. We do this for 50 plus companies. Love it. So I'm going to tell you that probably 25% of my week is trying to help companies or people that are starting their companies or trying to get their companies. How do you get better? How do you grow? How do you deal with what's coming your way?
It sounds like a good deal of the success that you've had so far, Paul, has been largely down to the ability to build relationships and network, right?
Absolutely. Virtually all of it is. Only last year did I start going outbound, really outbound networking into the LinkedIn arena and Facebook and other things to start building it. We work with companies to help them get ready for sale. And one of the first things we talk to them about is the Switzerland factor. How much of your company is dependent upon you? If you've got a great company, but all of your client relationships are with you, it just value 40, 50%. If you're the rainmaker or if you're the relationship person in that company, you just cut the value of your company in half.
I tend to come across two camps of business owners whilst we're doing this podcast and in my general networking. And there are those who firmly and resolutely, like I do and like you do, stand behind the power of their network and know how to leverage that network almost into perpetuity, right? Like there's an old myth that eventually your network will dry up. Well, it will if you don't tend it and cultivate it properly. But there are ways, means, processes, opportunities to expand that network almost consistently over time, and it can, as you've done, kind of drive that. And then the other sort of businesses that I come across are those that have yet to see the fruits of that networking. And it's kind of like going to the gym. They've been a couple of times this year, and it wasn't for them, so they're not going to do any more. And therefore, it doesn't work because I've never seen any results from it. And it's quite frustrating to see. There's a lot goes into your market and mix, but I have a lot to vouch for in the networking and relationship space.
Well, you hit on a couple of things. And one of my jokes when I'm talking to somebody is when you go into a party, the guy standing against the wall checking to make sure his shoes are tied is your CFO or your attorney. Neither one of those guys really know how to market themselves. They're introverted. They work with head down, trying to get things done. And I am a Unicorn CFO. I can't tell you I started that way, but at running a company and, we had 1,200 employees and 800 salespeople, or being the sales manager along with that, I had to get over myself. I had to just get out there, not pridefully, just with humility, get out there and say, okay, what do we need to do? How do we need to do it? I can't tell you everything to do right, but you can help me find out what you're doing. Let's get best practices and get these things going. So if a person's going out to network, you're going to have to kiss a lot of frogs, is an old cliche to find Prince. So you're going to have to go to your network meeting, work back and forth, get on the internet, get on Facebook, get contacts that you can interface with and that'll talk with you. And one of the cliches that you and I talked about earlier is, I'm willing to give, and sometimes I'll get. So I'll try to help others. Somewhere it's going to come back. So most of my working time right now that's not in marketing is in servant leadership, trying to help guys coming into the business, trying to help companies that are getting started, that kind of work. And, I love going to a company. And very second sidebar, about 3 years ago, went into a company that was for sale. They were running out of money. It was in September, and they figured out that they were going to run out of money in December. We went in, saw they had tools, turned them around, hired people in the company. 15 months. 15 months later, we sold the company for $29 million cash. Somebody that knows what they're doing, working with somebody that's willing to make the changes they need and turn around the company or make a company that's good better. So listen, network, find those people that can help. And guess what? That lead came from a network group. Somebody that says, hey, I know somebody that might be helpful for you. And I went in there to do the quality of earnings. I wasn't going in as a CFO. I just went in there to help them transact the first $6 million sale, which would have been basically paying off all their debt and no money to the owner. Instead of 15 months later, $29 million in cash. And that's a turnaround. And we have lots of stories like that. And there's other CFOs out there like me, same kind of thing.
So I'm going to ask a question then. As a CFO who's got that unique experience of being heavily involved with sales and marketing as well, what's your advice for businesses that want to kind of align their financial planning alongside their marketing goals? Because I know that's one of the big backwards and forwards in most businesses. Marketing's got the handout, we need to go to this expo, we need to go to this conference, we need some advertising, we need some more money, we need more. And then you as the CFO, it's your job to make sure that you don't run out of runway and everything's going smooth and we stick to the plan, right? So how do we balance that in a growing business?
It's going to come down to return on investment. If you don't have the tools to know what worked and what didn't work, you're back to that 50% of your money is working and 50% is not. And with companies like Javelin and other companies that are out there that can help you identify those issues, with AI, you can trace down with all the analytics of Google and other things that you can work with. You can find out where they're coming from and what the conversion rate is. It's like more recently with me, with new marketing director, we're getting significant hits on our website, but I'm not getting a conversion rate at the rate that I think is appropriate for it. Well, guess what? Looking at the website, what do we need to do better? And one of the things I will tell you and anybody out there, read a book, because How to Build a Story Brand. If you haven't read the book, everybody needs to know that the owner of the company is a hero, and you want that hero to succeed. So you got to figure out what that hero needs to succeed, and then hopefully be the guide that can help him accomplish what he needs to do to succeed. So find your niche, find what you can do to help a company do it, learn the tools that you can do to get that ROI. Because if that company is spending money, that CFO needs to know how productive that money was spent. And if it is, he's going to say, spend more money there and less money here. Let's get the return. A return on investment, everybody knows it or should know it. But if you spend $1,000, you got to get $10,000 back on it, or some kind of equation that earns a return.
I guess it's incredibly useful for a CFO to have a good working knowledge of most departments within the business, especially in marketing, I would say. What about that situation that comes up where marketing want to spend money on something that doesn't deliver tangible results in the near future, but it's a long-term strategy that there's lots of lagging indicators for, and yet it's essential for the long-term business growth?
Well, the CFO should be a global leader. So he's in there to look at the future. And if the future of that long-term play has substance, has legs, has the ability and definition, then he should support the bulk of it. You should challenge whatever is not having, walk before you run. Get in, get your feet wet, get going, and then build from there and build that continuity. But to go out blindly and spend money on something that somebody else did, but you've never done, it goes back to that. I can get 300 hits on my website a month, but if they don't turn into new clients, it's a number. It's not a value. So they've got to turn into clients. That's the same thing with that. And, most companies, particularly small companies, I'm going to say virtually everybody that's watching this podcast, they don't have 10 years to have something come to pass. They have 12 months for it to come to pass, maybe. And many of them have 3 to 4 months. They need to turn. So the first effort is, what am I going to get now to survive and thrive over the next 90 days so that I can repeat and do more the next 90 days? That's where we come in. And we're looking, and it's not that we know everything. We're challenging you for you to know what you're doing. And if you can't explain what you're doing, I'm not going to prove the invoice.
Yeah. I guess it's a lot like working with a coach, right? You're not necessarily there to have the answers explained to you. You're there to have somebody ask you the right questions so that you can unlock the answers that you know or that you can come to.
That is right. You're absolutely right. And that's one of the things. If you go out on, and you can ask these questions. I just happened to put together a package here. Small companies don't have the money for all the expertise they need. So for them to use outsourced resources for marketing, for advertising, branding, accounting, operations, things of that nature, it's a known factor. And I would have to get this from somewhere else. I'm going to give you some stats only because it came in this presentation I did for somebody. With fractional support, now this is Baines and McKinsey, and this is not me talking. Revenue growth with fractional support, 2 to 3 times faster growth. Profitability, 33% higher profitability. Survival rate, 70 to 80% will survive 5 years, whereas 50% or less without it. Access to capital. Needless to say, virtually every client we have needs money. And with our lending background, mine particularly, we have money from seed money to second round to going out for bank money to hard money to hedge fund money. You need money and you've got anything that's worthwhile, we can get you money. Scalability, 1.5 to 2 times faster. Customer acquisition, working with you to get 20 to 40% increase in acquisition and 25% higher retention. Those are not my words. Go out on ChatGPT and ask those questions. Fractional people, if you can pay $3,000 instead of $15,000 to get good advice that you can use in your company, why not? So that's the whole fractional part-time consulting business is that. But you got to find the right person. You got to find somebody who has experience. I tend all of the guys that I refer into my companies are they have a business and they have a track record. None of them are single, so that we actually get results out of it, and that's why we keep them on our bench.
So coming back then to the technology that you mentioned at the beginning, and you're right, it's interesting to talk to a CFO who has an interest in technology, right? Because most CFOs I know are very adverse to technology because it costs them money. So to rewind back to that, what's the next big thing, the next big trend that you're really excited to see grow into the marketplace that you're really going to help smaller to mid-sized businesses grow?
Well, AI is obviously everywhere. So that's, I'm not saying anything new there. We're incorporating it in our reports, but not just to pull the numbers, but to try to take the trends of those numbers and provide information of this is where we need to go with that. We just signed a contract with a company that is big data AI, and they just signed a contract with the AI CPA. Well, that means they're going to have access to do reporting for the AI CPA for all of their clients, whichever CPA sign up for it. And those clients are going to get an enormous amount of review, analysis, and more importantly, what this means. What do you need to do to change this up or reduce that down or whatever? And we literally just signed a contract. We're taking it out to all of our clients. And we were the beta test site for another company that about 3 years ago, helping them build out their analysis platform. And JP Morgan, a year and a half ago, bought it for $20 million. So needless to say, these guys know the members of that team that we worked with. They came to us and said, okay, you help them. We want to build this out. We're technology geeks over here, but at the same time, we're more concerned about using that technology to help the company get better. And one of the other things that I highly promote is Entrepreneur Operating System. It is the best tool that I've found so far that is a reasonable cost to get into the underbelly of a company. If they use it and use it correctly, and we're all integrators, we get in to see what's going on in the company, which tells us what seats are filled correctly and what seats need to be replaced, what areas are strong and what areas are weak. And that's how we can be a global CFO and not be a controller. The controller brings in the financial statement, drops it on the CEO's desk and says, that's what's happened. See you next month. CFO come in with it and said, okay, that's what happened. This is what we got to do to change or improve or do whatever we do with that. And that's, in a nutshell, that's the difference between a controller and a global CFO.
I love the analogy there, and I love the idea of what the controller does. It made me laugh. What's one thing that really gets you on your soapbox that businesses do that they should do less of with regards to marketing? What's one thing that just maybe never works, doesn't work, or has stopped working, and you see people doing it all the time and it really grinds your gears?
Well, spending money with companies that don't have a track record is one of the problems, obviously. But many companies don't know what to do. Do the research to see what's working. It's like video, podcasts, things of that nature is probably the strongest communication that is available out there between company and they've got to be short. I'm not going to sit and listen to a 30-minute video unless it's really interesting to me. But I'll sit and listen to a 2 or 3-minute one. So we do podcasts with CEOs 2 to 3 times a month, and we'll have that video out there that is total video. All right, done, go. But then we're going to take that thing down into smaller videos to where this is interesting to him but it's not interesting to her. And if there's a nugget of information in there how to market, hopefully they'll take that. But I'm finding that, so many companies are out there trying to sell leads, whatever. You got to filter through that, but you got to market. Let's go back to market. If you don't go out, I would highly encourage to work with podcasters, influencers. Those are two of the market leaders right now, on LinkedIn. If LinkedIn is probably the best business tool. You don't sell on LinkedIn, you build relationships, which come back to where you started this. Your company is going to be built and retained on building those relationships. And that's networking. A lot of that networking has to come in person, but a lot of that networking is introduced by a relationship that you meet on LinkedIn, and then y'all get together, have a conversation, or you get into the group with it, and then you get to meet people of like-minded. You have to go out and be involved. You can't sit in your office 40 hours a week and think people are going to come to you. Now, you can communicate with people, but ultimately you have to build that relationship. It comes down to what this whole podcast is about, introducing new people to new people so that they can say, is there something that's worthwhile to me? Do I want to connect with that person? How do I want to deal with that? So that's why when we do podcasts, we turn back around and put it out to all 20,000 members of C-Suite Network. I put it on LinkedIn, and it's one of those give to get. I'm not asking for their business. I'm trying to see if there's something I can share with them to help them. That builds relationships.
I guess networking, a lot of the time I see people refer to it as something that people either naturally have or don't have. And my 2 cents on this is I'd like to disagree with that, as I think it's something that you can learn to do and do well, as long as you come to it from the right frame. And I was naturally quite shy, quite introverted. I'm a bit of a tech geek. I don't naturally engage in talking to people a lot. I have a small social circle, believe it or not, at home. And over the last 5-6 years, I've learned to network. I've learned how to build relationships. I already knew how to build relationships. I've learned how to do them at scale. I've learned how to do them faster. I've learned how to, but all of that was driven, as you said, through adding value and giving, no expectations, no demands from my side of things. So I think if you're one of those business owners that are out there saying, that's great if you're a networker, but I'm not a networker, so I'm just going to carry on doing what I'm doing, you need to call bullshit on your own strategy, because you can do it. You just don't want to do it. You don't believe in it enough to give it a try. Paul, it's been a fantastic episode. I've loved having you on the show, and I realize we could probably go on for, we'll have to have you back. I need to have you back on the show in a few months' time, because we've got so much more ground to cover.
Well, I appreciate it. Totally appreciate it. Thanks for connecting. And just like this connection, people reach out to Paul. He has good information. He has good connections. This is a relationship factor here.
Thank you very much, Paul. And if people want to reach out to you, how is the best way to contact you?
The company is called C-Suite Support, and our website is C-Suite Support. My email is P. Whitley, my first initial last name, PWHITLEY at C-Suite Support. Google the name, it'll come up. Thanks to our marketing director, will come up pretty high in the rankings. So if there's something you need, something you want to help your business get better, grow it, or you just want to ask a question about how to do that. Like I say, probably 25% of my time is working with people that I've just been introduced to by somebody that has a question, need, or desire.
Awesome. I love it. And I will add those links into the show notes as well, so people don't have to go looking for them. So scroll down, have a look at the description. It'll be there for you. Don't worry. Thanks for your time, Paul. Really appreciate the conversation. And thank you at home for coming along, watching the show, or listening to us. I know you will have gotten a ton of information out of this episode. So please don't forget, give us a subscribe, drop a rating on the show. It all helps to get us in front of more people who, like you, just need that bit of support. Thanks. See you next week.
All right. I just put all the information in chat for whoever reaches out to you. So thank you, and I appreciate your time this morning.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us for today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to feature on a future show, or you've got some ideas for folks who would make a great guest, please drop us a line. Contact details are in the show notes and I'd love to hear from you. Your host today was me, Paul Banks, founder at Javelin Content Management. Here at Javelin, we specialise in helping busy business owners just like you to repurpose video content, taking all the stress and tech problems away and turning your long-form video into literally hundreds of pieces of content without breaking the bank. We describe it as getting ideas out of your head into video and out to your socials. If you want to launch your personal brand, become the vendor of choice for your audience, or maximise your sales revenue impact, we'd love to hear from you. Join us next Wednesday for the next episode, and don't forget to subscribe and give us a review. Our podcast is only possible with your continued support.